Welcome to the Wind Up with Will, everyone. I'm your host, Will, here with another episode, and today I'm going to be making my college football playoff predictions for the college football playoff. It is starting this weekend. I'm in full Murray State gear. I went to the Murray State basketball game earlier tonight, so that's why I'm in Murray gear. Hopefully, maybe one day Murray State can make the FCS playoffs, and I might briefly mention the FCS playoffs in this video. There's a lot of excitement that's happened in that. The college football is in the final stages. We're going to the playoffs. The FCS is almost to their championship game. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into this video. We're not going to spend time on talking about teams that maybe should be in the playoff field or how the playoff field, the controversies around that. We're gonna go through the top 12 teams and my predictions for the playoff. So the top four seeds that have byes are Indiana at 1, Ohio State at 2, Georgia at 3, Texas Tech at 4. You've got number 5, and those four teams have byes. Number 5, Oregon is hosting number 12, James Madison. Number 8, Oklahoma is hosting number 9, Alabama. Number 6, Ole Miss is hosting number 11, Tulane. And number 7, Texas A&M is hosting number 10, Miami. Two teams to beat Notre Dame are the two teams that are facing off. That matchup's kind of neat. And we've got a couple rematches in the first round with Ole Miss and Tulane, a regular season game, which Ole Miss blew out Tulane. So that game's a rematch, and Oklahoma Alabama is a rematch. That game was played at Alabama earlier in the year. Oklahoma won that game. It's a rematch now, and funny enough, Alabama has been favored for I think 1.5 points. Is maybe maybe got up to 3. I'm not sure the exact what the spread was, but it's actually down right now to Oklahoma's actually favored now by 1.5. But I'm going to go into my predictions for the game. So we're going to start with the 5-12 matchup. I think, regardless, and maybe I should touch on this a little bit, there is some controversy. A lot of people are saying teams like Tulane and James Madison don't deserve to be in the playoff field. Without getting on too much of a soapbox and going down what really should be its own video at some point, talking about how the playoffs should or shouldn't be structured. The rules are the rules. You take the 5 highest ranked conference champions. You knew that coming into the season. You knew at least one group of 5 team was getting in. And it was talked about throughout the year as the season went along. If there's a doomsday scenario that if Duke somehow ends up in the ACC title game and wins it with a 7-5 record, the ACC could very well be left out of the college football playoff, and the group of 5 gets 2 conference champions in. That's been talked about. The rules are the way that they're set up. And I honestly think it's really cool that 2 group of 5 teams get in. If you watch the videos of those teams being selected to the playoffs, how excited their players were to make the playoffs, what it means to the fans and their football program as well. If this is a great opportunity to show their team on a national stage, show they made the playoffs, and it's going to help recruiting in the future. So it's great for those programs. I have no issue with them being in. I'm a Notre Dame fan in college football, and I have been for years. I went to a game earlier this year, and I would love Notre Dame to be in the playoffs. But I'm not. There's no world in which I will argue that Notre Dame should be in over Tulane or James Madison. Tulane and James Madison went and won their conferences and got the automatic bids, as the rules state. And I think automatic bids are important. I think it emphasizes winning your conference, making the playoff. So that's all I'm going to say on that. I think I'm excited for those 2 teams in the playoffs. Are they going to win against their teams? Probably not. But should that really matter? I don't really think Alabama and Oklahoma are going to win the national championship. I don't think that they're that great. I don't think Miami or Texas A&M is going to win the national championship, but they could. Same thing with Tulane or James Madison. I don't think that they're going to win, but they could. You never know. Upsets happen. As Herm Edwards once said, you play to win the game. It's not about hypotheticals. It's not about, well, this team is obviously better than this team. Yeah, but you still have to play the game. You have to prove it on the field. That's what sports is about. It's about competition, and teams got to go prove that. So, actually, I gotta put my laptop is dying. I gotta put my charger in. Really should do this before I start filming. But okay. So I got that going now, and I'm just going to go and make my predictions and get off my soapbox real quick. So Oregon is favored by 20.5 points over James Madison. That game is on Saturday. Actually, it'll be tomorrow because as I'm filming this, it's early Friday morning, a little past midnight. I think Oregon will win the game. I think they will probably cover the spread, but I would not be surprised if James Madison, at least in the first half, makes this a little uncomfortably close of not just to betters, but to perhaps some Ducks fans that have seen too many times, especially last year, them losing to Ohio State, of, oh my goodness, there is maybe a slim chance we could lose this game. I think Oregon wins this game easily. I think they win by 3 scores, but I think James Madison is going to keep it close until halftime. They're a really good group of five team. They've got nothing to lose, and there's a chance Oregon could slightly overlook them. I still think Oregon will win the game, but I think James Madison will at least make it interesting early in the game. More interesting than some of the talking heads act like. I think Oregon still wins the game easily, though. I think the second half they pull away and put the game to rest, and win easily and advance to the Capital One Orange Bowl to play Texas Tech. The Alabama Oklahoma game. As a Notre Dame fan, I have some strong opinions about this game. I don't want Alabama to win, and I don't think they will win. And it is not just of, well, Alabama's got in over Notre Dame, so I'm going to root for them to lose, and I hate them and everything. I'm not an Alabama fan, I will admit that, and I'm not happy about how they got in over Notre Dame. Um, but I don't think that they are. I mean, Oklahoma's maybe a comparable team to them, of a team that has talent on it and maybe didn't live up to full expectations this year. But for someone like me, looking at the schedule, looking at where the programs are, they're about. Oklahoma actually did really well this year. I said Oklahoma will go 7-5. Oklahoma has had one of the hardest schedules in the country. The fact that they're the eighth seed and went 10-2, phenomenal year for them in my books. How hard of a schedule they had, and the fact that their quarterback was injured at one point. 10-2 is a great season for them. I still think that they're similar to Alabama in the fact that they have talent on their team. They've got a good defense. Their offense isn't great, and I think Alabama is maybe similar to that regard. Of Alabama is probably a little the other way of their offense is maybe a little better than their defense, but they're a team that if they, I don't think that these teams are good enough to beat the Oregons, the Ohio States, the Indianas, and go on a run and win a championship. I think they could. That's why you play. As I said earlier, that's why you play the games. But I think these teams are. They're, let me put it this way: they're two teams that I don't think that some of the other teams are fearful of playing. Alabama has been inconsistent through the year with 3 losses. Oklahoma has had some inconsistencies, especially on offense. First one to 20 in this game wins. Is my view. Whoever gets to 21st wins this game. I think Oklahoma wins it 20-10. I don't think Alabama's in the right spot. They lost 2 of their last 4. They lost to Oklahoma in that span. They lost to Oklahoma at Alabama. I think that's in their head. Now it's hard to beat a team twice in a season. And a lot of times it looks like it reverses the other way. I don't think it does, though. Oklahoma, and the game is in Oklahoma. Their fans are going to be rabid. Alabama's on the road. They lost 2 of their last 4. They got blown out by Georgia. That's in the back of their minds. I just don't think that Alabama is going to show up in this game. I think Oklahoma wins 20-10. I guess I should give a score for Oregon James Madison. I'll say Oregon wins 49-21. We'll say James Madison scores 21. 49-21 in that game. Moving on to the next game is Ole Miss Tulane. Ole Miss is a 17.5 point favorite. I think if there will be an upset, I should say if there is an upset, if I can communicate my words, if there is an upset, Tulane Ole Miss is the one to look for in my mind, just because they've played already once this year. Tulane is losing their coach, but he has stayed to coach this game and the rest of their play and however far they can make it in the playoffs if they do advance. Ole Miss has lost their coach. They've lost several coaches. I've got to have a feeling that that losing Lane Kiffin and the fallout from all that is done one of two things to Ole Miss. One possibility is that this is a dark cloud hanging over them, and that this is going to make the season bad. Like, our coach left on us. Some of the guys themselves are thinking about joining him. Their mind is not in the right place of being ready for the playoffs. And Tulane has got a chip on their shoulder to go out and prove that they can play here, that the group of five is here, that Tulane is a good team. And part of me thinks that Tulane is going to make this uncomfortably close. I'm not a betting man. I'm not a betting man at all. But if I were to bet, two bets I would make in this field would be for Oklahoma to win against Alabama. And the other one would be that Tulane somehow covers the spread and makes this uncomfortably close. Maybe Ole Miss scores a touchdown late to pull away and make it 17, or to make it 14 or 15. I think Ole Miss is going to lead in this game. I think Ole Miss will win the game, but I think Tulane covers the spread and makes this somewhat uncomfortably close. Ole Miss is super talented. They have two phenomenal players that maybe deserve to be in the Heisman conversation, and Trinidad Chambliss, and then their running back Lacey. But I would love to see Tulane or James Madison win, or both of them win. I love upsets. I think Ole Miss will win this game, though. I do think Tulane will somehow make it close, just because of the circumstances that's hanging kind of over the Ole Miss team of losing their coach. Maybe some of the players' minds are not in the right spot. Tulane, it has a chip on their shoulder, and they're maybe wanting to play out because this could be their last game with their coach, who is still with them at the moment. The winner of that game will advance to the All-State Sugar Bowl. The winner of the Alabama-Oklahoma game will advance to the Rose Bowl to face Indiana. The winner of Tulane Ole Miss will advance to the Sugar Bowl to face Georgia. The 7-10 matchup is A&M hosting Miami. A&M's a 3.5-point favorite. I think this is going to be the most fun game to watch, because I really don't know who will win this game. Honestly, these are the two teams that beat Notre Dame, and they were both close games. I think these teams are both really good. They both have good defensive rushers. They have the ability to be explosive on offense at times. It's interesting that, because like Carson Beck is maybe not as much of a rusher as Texas A&M's quarterback is, but let me get pulled up. Carson Beck can scramble, but he's more of a pocket passer, and he has the ability to show up in big games. But there's been a couple games this year where he's just had a bunch of interceptions, so there's a chance he could have a bad game. Marcellus Reed, the quarterback for A&M, has been explosive at times this season. He has the ability to kind of scramble, and I think A&M has perhaps bigger playmakers on offense. I think it'll be a close game. I say A&M wins by a field goal. Say they win 35-32. It's going to be a weird scoring game, but they're going to, now we'll change it, 34-31, more of a normal scoring game. 34-31, they win by a field goal and advance to the Cotton Bowl Classic to face Ohio State. So that sets up in our quarterfinals. We've got number 5 Oregon facing number 4 Texas Tech. We've got number 8 Oklahoma facing number 1 Indiana. Number 6 Ole Miss having a rematch with the number 3 Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, and Texas A&M advancing to the Cotton Bowl Classic. I'm going to pick. I really want to do this. The Oregon Texas Tech matchup 5-4. I think that is going to if that does end up being a game, I think that will be a great game, and I think Texas Tech has been a massively over overlooked team the entire year. They're underrated. They're really good. Their defense is good. Their quarterback has been good and showed up at moments. They've blown out all of the teams that they've played. The only game that they didn't win and that they didn't have and that it wasn't a blowout or high scoring was Arizona at Arizona State, and they lost by I think 4 points, and they didn't have their quarterback. So with having their quarterback, I think they have the chance to be a super dangerous team in this playoff field, and a lot of people are just overlooking them. I think Texas Tech wins this game. I think them and Oregon could be the Arizona State Texas game of last year, where it's a crazy game. There's going to be a lot of scoring, or it could just be a super nail biting defensive game like Indiana Ohio State. But I think it's going to be a great game. I think Texas Tech comes out on top in the Orange Bowl and advances to the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl into the semifinals. Indiana, Oklahoma. I think Indiana runs away with this one. I think Oklahoma is a good team. I think they're great defensively. I don't think offensively they can keep up with Indiana. And if Indiana can break loose, if they can have explosive passing plays, and they will run away with this. Indiana, I almost said Alabama. Indiana is number one. Indiana is one of the most balanced teams in the country in terms of offense, defense, their passing game, their running game. They're just extremely balanced. They're good all around. I think Indiana would win easily over Oklahoma. I think if they even faced Alabama, I think they would win easily in that game. Indiana, I say. I guess I should give score predictions for these games as well. I'll say Texas Tech wins in the Orange Bowl. We'll say 31. No, we'll make it higher scoring. 38-35 over Oregon. Indiana wins big over Oklahoma. Let's say 42-20, and advances the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl to face Texas Tech. In the Sugar Bowl, with a rematch between Georgia and Ole Miss, Ole Miss's magic season comes to an end at Georgia's second loss to them on the year. I think they put up a good fight, but I say Georgia wins by 10, 30-20 in that game, and advances to the Fiesta Bowl in the semifinals. So Georgia wins the Sugar Bowl and advances. And then in the Cotton Bowl Classic between Ohio State and Texas A&M, give me Ohio State. I think they're a really good team. They might even though they lost to Indiana, they might still be the best team. Ohio State wins this game. Julian Sayin is passing the ball phenomenally. Their wide receiving room is great. Even though Texas A&M is great and can make explosive plays and has good defense, I think Ohio State's just the more talented team. They have they have more experience in the postseason in these big moment games. Their wide receivers are great. Their quarterback is phenomenal. Give me Ohio State. I think they win a good hard fought game, 35-28 over A&M, and advance to the Fiesta Bowl in the semifinals. So we've got Texas Tech winning the Orange Bowl, Indiana winning the Rose Bowl, Georgia winning the Sugar Bowl, and Ohio State winning the Cotton Bowl. So in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl between Indiana and Texas Tech, give me Indiana to win that game. I think it'll be a great game. Indiana wins 21-17. More of a defensive slugfest in this game, but Indiana comes out on top to advance to the first ever national championship appearance by the Hoosiers. They win the Peach Bowl and go to the championship game. In the Fiesta Bowl between Georgia and Ohio State, two powerhouse programs. On one side of the bracket, you got Texas Tech and Indiana trying to burst onto the scene. On the other side, you got two juggernaut programs. I think Ohio State wins. I think Georgia's great. They're a phenomenal program. They're a great team. This has the chance to maybe be the game of the year. Give me Ohio State 41, Georgia 38. Ohio State to the national championship as they win the Fiesta Bowl. And in the national championship game between Ohio State and Indiana, a rematch of the Big Ten title game. Drum roll, please. I hope you're doing the drum roll at home. I'm going to pick Indiana to win the national championship. I could be wrong. Ohio State could win it. And Ohio State very well may win it. I think they are arguably the best team. I think though Indiana making the decisions they did, or I should say, how they played the game in the Big Ten championship. They played great defensively. They did what they needed to do. They made explosive. They had a good couple of deep passes at times. They played within themselves. They didn't commit errors. They were well coached by Kurt Signetti, and they won the Big Ten championship. Ryan Day and Ohio State did not make, and it was just a couple of mistakes, and they were coaching mistakes of not kicking those field goals. If they kicked the field goal, that one field goal where it was fourth down, and Ohio State goes for it instead of kicking the field goal. That was the difference in the game. If they kick that field goal, it's a tie game. They're going to overtime. But instead, he tries to go for the touchdown. Now, maybe in the rematch, maybe he goes for the field goal in a situation like that. Maybe he learns his lesson. Maybe that leads to Ohio State winning in the national championship. But I think that Indiana is just going to have that slight edge, and Ohio State is going to come up just short. Give me Indiana to win the rematch. 24-21. Difference is a field goal, just like the Big Ten championship. Ohio State is denied a repeat championship. Indiana wins their first national championship, and Kirk Signetti in year 2 has brought Indiana to the promised land that most thought was never possible. And winning a national championship in football, crazy, absolutely crazy, as Indiana is now a football school. That's my pick. I think Fernando Mendoza and Kurt Signetti win the national championship. Um, could very well be wrong. could be in a few weeks that these predictions will look bad. And it's also interesting. Like as I was making this, I was kind of thinking I just picked all of the top 4 teams to make it to the semifinals, and there's no world in which there's a guarantee that that happens. Last year, I don't think any of the top 4 teams made it to the semifinals. Did they? Who were the top? So last year it was Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State. Yeah, none of the top 4 teams made it to the semifinals. So we'll see if that trend is different this year. Hopefully, for my predictions, they are. But that's all I've got for this video. Let me know down below who you think is going to win the national championship in college football. What do you think of my predictions? And tell me what your predictions are. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.